You're listening to the Fantasy Fling Podcast. Take a break from the season-long commitment and join us as we give you the newest and hottest DFS deals, preview the DFS main slate, and take the dreadful walk of shame. Here are your hosts, Brandon and Eric.
Welcome in, everyone, to the Week 16 DFS main slate preview of the Fantasy Fling Podcast. Christmas Eve edition. Omicron. We got the gift that nobody wanted for Christmas this year. It's messing up our main slate yet again, but we'll navigate our way through it, just like we did last week. You cashed in cash last week. I cashed in cash.
Yep.
We figured it out.
Yeah, man. Good to be back again.
Yes, sir.
Another, as you mentioned, another crazy week of COVID. Of course, it happens to fall during the fantasy playoffs, too.
Right.
To not make it worse, right?
It's been wild in that regard, but the good news is that none of the games have been moved as of yet, so it should be an easier main slate to manage. Mm-hmm. And then I tweeted out this earlier. I actually like it, dude. It's Christmas tomorrow, which is Saturday. Mm-hmm. There's a Christmas game slate. So many people are going to be distracted by everything that's going on, and they're going to put less work that they normally do into the main slate. I like that. That's an edge. That's an edge for me. It's an edge for you. However big of an edge it may be, I don't know, but it's certainly an edge, and if you can get an edge, we'll take it. So, we'll do that main slate preview, but we'll start it with looking back, really, at last week. So we'll do that review of the Week 15 hot plays last week. So, had some Tyler Huntley. He was a smash play last week. I mean, he took down the Millie Maker, so if you had Huntley and Andrews, it was the premier stack. Those guys had over 6x for each. So Huntley was 35. He got 35 points for his Green Bay. And then Cam, I'm back in the top 5. Didn't see that happening after getting benched for PJ Walker the week before, but 24 points. And then unreal. Yes, sir. And then Rodgers just behind him with 23 points, whether he's got COVID or he's got a fractured toe. He just makes it look so easy. It's just what he does out there, dude. This is what it is. And then Josh Allen. Yes, sir. Josh Allen, 4th, 21 points. Just behind him, Goff. So this was like the biggest surprise of the week. Like, how in the hell do the Cardinals struggle against the Lions? I just did not see that coming at all. And I had a lot of Murray stacks, and really it was just team stacks, right? Because I was like, well, you don't really need to bring it back. But I did have a couple brought back with Almiron St. Brown. But didn't really see Goff making it in the top 5 without at least Murray being in that top 5 with him, without that game shooting out. Really shocking, but at any given Sunday, that's how it goes.
Just goes to show you, man, like every time we think we know something, I'm just going to start betting on for sure thing on games. I'm just going to throw down like $5. So many times this year alone have we seen it?
Right. Yeah, how many parlays were just crushed on that game alone?
Mine.
Yeah. So Duke Johnson's on the top of the list. Like, what year is it? Houston versus the Jets last week, so 28 points. And then Jeff Wilson, I was hesitant to play him because he burned me the week before. He just didn't look that well. Didn't look that good, but he bounced back. He definitely looked to be healthier versus Atlanta. And then Foreman, I had quite a bit of Foreman exposure, but the other backs that I played didn't hit, so that is what it is. Robinson was the chalk last week, and really he kind of disappointed, for as chalky as he was, and it being such a good matchup. But 17 points. And then last Singletary versus Carolina, finishing out that top 5. He had 16.5 points.
Singletary. Yeah, it's good that he's on the list. I mean, good that any Buffalo Bill running back made on the list.
With Moss inactive, he was a good play for sure.
Yeah, the Duke Johnson thing, man, a lot of people have been on his bandwagon for years, being like, if he just got the chance. I was saying he's very talented, but we'll see what happens next week. A lot of the reason they said that is because he got all the reps in practice, and so the coach was like, look, you're in the role. Guess we'll see what happens moving forward. But one of the receivers, you got David Mills, who loves Brandon Cooks. every time he plays, that's all he looks for. He only has eyes for Brandon. 32 points against the Jacksonville. Then you had Gabriel Davis. It was a toss-up for me between.
I had him.
Yeah, you had him. Yep. It's a toss-up for him and Cole Beasley. Last week, and actually it's going to be a spoiler for this week. Both of those guys are out. So Emmanuel Sanders.
Dude, 4,000, all about it. Give me all the Sanders this week.
Absolutely, man. Gabriel Davis against the Panthers, 25 points. Christian Kirk, who was another chalky guy at the top, 24 points against Detroit. You have Amon-Ra St. Brown in that same game with 23.5 points. And then you have Russell Gage, who's really come on the last 3 or 4 weeks, 23 points. He started off slow. He even had a goose egg like 3 or 4 games ago, but these last games he's looked really good. Maybe he's coming in.
Yeah, for sure. There's a number one target. A little side note, by the way. I got eliminated in Operation Fantasy this week in the playoffs, and dude, I had Kyler Murray going against the Lions with a Christian Kirk stack. I'm like, how does Kyler Murray end up with 12 points and Christian Kirk ends up with 24 against the Lions? Like, make it make sense. If Kyler Murray has an average game, I win last week. It's just a wild NFL season, dude.
That's been a weird year, man. Moving on to tight ends, it seems like it doesn't matter if the quarterback is Lamar Jackson or Tyler Huntley. They both look for Andrews. Mark Andrews is pretty safe almost every week. He had the high of 38, 38 points against the Packers. They almost came back and won that game. Yeah. And also Lamar Jackson's out this week again, so Huntley is probably chalk for cash. But
could be.
Dalton Schultz was going to be against the Giants. He had 20.7 points. Kittle on the list again. He didn't have a 40-point game, but he had 15 against Atlanta. Zach Ertz had 13 against Detroit, and then in that same game with Atlanta, Kyle Pitts had 11.7 against the Niners. So you'll notice like most of this whole week is pretty low scoring in general. I think just part of it's because there were games on Thursday, there were games on Saturday, there were games on Monday, there were games on Tuesday. All over the place. So less people on the main slate, so generally lower scores.
Yeah, definitely, man. Yeah, 9-game slate. It was very condensed, and the matchups weren't very good. And then I wrote about this in my Millie Maker write-up over at fantasyfootballfling.com. But so even the games that we still had, right? There was tons of COVID designations, so those players were ruled out. There was injuries, so it's not like those games that we were given were quality altogether anyway. So. But yeah, let's wrap this up for Week 15. We had the Cowboys and Steelers as a top spot for defenses, special teams, going against the Giants and Tennessee. So pretty good matchups there for both of them. Not really surprising. The Jets versus Miami. That was pretty surprising. I would have picked the other end of that to be, the more high-scoring defense, of course. And then third, Texans versus Jacksonville. So, really kind of flip a coin, right? Like it's the Texans, it's Jacksonville with an interim coach. You don't know what's going to happen. Well, it was the Texans in this one. And then Bengals, Dolphins, 49ers. They all had 9 points. So a lot of ties. It was pretty divided, week for scoring. And then the Lions. You never saw that. I'm sorry. Unless you're like a Lions homer, you never saw that coming against the Cardinals. Just quite shocking. But so as far as the overall top plays on the main slate, those are it for last week. Eric, what were your hot plays of last week? How'd last week go for you?
Last week was good. In the cash games, I only made 2 lineups, and they both cashed. Actually, I took place in pretty much all of them. I had 153 points. I scored in cash.
Damn.
Well,
nice.
I when the news that Lamar Jackson came out, I was 100% putting Huntley in. I didn't expect him to put 36 points up, but I expect him to have a pretty good game because he's kind of like Lamar Jackson, just not quite as good, but he's still got the legs. So he surprised. I had Jeff Wilson in my lineup as well, and I had Gabriel Davis in all of my. He was kind of a risky play for cash, but man, he was so cheap. So I put him in there, and that paid off as well.
Nice.
I also had Devontae Adams, Deebo Samuel. They did okay. They didn't have great games, but enough not to kill you.
Nice.
Those were my main ones, and I did some variations, different variations of that as well. But for the most part, those are the guys I played. I also played a little bit of. I knew Duke Johnson was going to put up 29 points, so I played him everywhere. I'm kidding, obviously. I definitely played James Robinson a lot because he was chalky. And I also play Christian Kirk in the other lineups as well. With D-Hop being out the rest of the year, he's probably in play again this week as well.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I hit the cash line last week as well. Didn't score as many points as you. I had Tua. I had Barkley. Barkley was not very highly owned, so I just thought he was in a good matchup. For the price and everything. Yeah, that game was one of the more high projected games, so he was only like 2% owned. But yeah, he got me 10 points. James Robinson was a chalk, and overall he kind of failed, but when he's 82% owned, it doesn't really matter, it doesn't hurt you. So 17 points from him. Devontae Adams, kind of the same thing. 60% owned. Didn't have a great game by his standards by any means, only had 16 points. But yeah, smashed it with Christian Kirk and Devontae Parker. So I got like 40 points from those two guys. Had Jaceki, then Javonte Williams. I didn't expect him to be as low owned as he was. He was only like 3% owned. They should have given him the ball way more. He could have had a much bigger day if Drew Lock would just have given him the ball on that read option play where there's just like a massive hole and it's Javonte Williams. Like he would have busted 20, 30 yards. Might have been a touchdown. Who knows?
Good old Drew Lock.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. Well, and it was a condensed slate, so my strategy really was to go, and I guess this will be a nice segue into the walk of shame. So my strategy was to just fade the chalk and just go super contrarian. Being a condensed slate, and I felt like if the chalk didn't hit, then I would be in a great spot. So pretty much all my plays were just leverage plays off of the chalk. So walk of shame. We'll get to it. My Millie Maker build. First time in the Millie this year that I've scored under 100 points. So the Dak Prescott stack that I chose just didn't get there. I was watching the game, and it's kind of crazy. I'm just like, I don't remember a Dallas team where like they have Dak, they have Lamb, they have Cooper, they have Gallup, they have Schultz, they have all these pieces, and they can't score like down in the red zone through the air. It's only through the ground. It's just crazy to me. So, and especially against the Giants, like they're not that good of a team. So that stack failed. The Dak Lamb stack completely failed. I did have Gabriel Davis. He was the chalkiest player that I did have in that lineup. Let's see. Actually, I'm looking at our contest, so I don't believe that is correct. But let's see what his actual numbers were in this one. Yeah, so in the Millie Maker, Gabriel Davis, he was chalk, so 18% owned. I had Cordarrelle Patterson. I had a Patterson Pitts stack with Ayuk. So Ayuk off of Debo, off of Kittle, leverage. Again, it failed. So Javonte Williams, I had, and Marvin Jones too, trying to get off of that James Robinson stack. And it's funny because I was listening to Osimo podcast earlier, and Alex Baker, number one DFS player in the world, was talking about this. Him and the other guy were kind of going back and forth. So it's kind of the same mindset of what they were saying, right? Like if everyone's going to be on James Robinson, maybe you do want to be on Marvin Jones this week. And there's no Shenault. So a lot of times it's like you have the right strategy, but you could be a week too early on, those players actually hitting. But at the end of the day, that's what you want to do. You want to look for leverage. And this is what happens in the Millie Maker. It's like if you ain't first, you're last, right? Specifically in the Millie Maker, because first place is $1 million. Second place is $75,000. Like, that's such a wide gap. The payout structure sucks, but you're trying to win a milli. So, under 100 points, that's my walk of shame this week.
Under 100, that happens. I've had one of those weeks too. I think it might have been the week prior to that. I don't remember, but walk of shame. I don't really have a whole lot this week, to be honest with you. Everything went pretty well. I didn't win the Millie Maker, but the cash lineups went well, so that covered the cost for the Millie Maker over quite a few times. And I'd say the biggest for me is probably there's one league, a dynasty league that I'm in, and I lost by 0.3 points. And that's a tough pill to swallow.
That hurts.
Tough pill to swallow. It's 0.3 points. Just looking back, like any one of the players just could have had 4 more yards, I would have won. But It sucks. I guess on to next year in that league. But overall, not a whole lot. Big walk of shame for me. It was a good week. I can't complain.
Good, man. Good. Well, it's that time to get into the hot plays of Week 16. Eric.
Yeah, man.
Take it away with the Vegas lines.
Again, just like last week, there's a game on Thursday and Monday as always, but there's multiple games tomorrow on Christmas, so the main slate's going to be a little smaller or a little less. But starting at the top, 48.5 point spread for the Rams and Vikings. Rams are projected to win that game, the 26-point team total. Next game is the Chargers and Houston, 46-point spread, with the Chargers projected for 28 points to win that game as well. Pittsburgh and KC. I'm curious how that one turns out. It says a 45-point spread on that. Looking for KC to win. They're favored with a 27-point team total. Baltimore, although I put a BAI, so it looks like bye.
Bye.
Baltimore and Cincinnati. That's a 45-point. Also is spread with Cincinnati, projected 24-point team total. Last time they played, Burrow slaughtered them. We'll see what happens this time.
Yeah.
Plus, Huntley's in this time, too, so Lamar Jackson's already been ruled out as of earlier today.
Yeah. I got sacks on both sides of that game.
Yeah, man.
I like it. I like that one.
Yeah, last time Burrow went off, I don't know if it was a fluke or not, but, I mean, these interdivisional games, you just never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
And then the last one is Detroit and Atlanta with 43.5-point spread, with Atlanta favored to win, 24-point team total as well. So pretty low scores overall, but again, it's because a lot of games have been moved, or not moved, but they're just scheduled differently because of the time of year. But
also impacted by COVID. You got Tyreek Hill and Kelsey out, and so on and so forth. Like it's all over the place. Like Dalvin Cook, guys like that. So
very true. Yeah, it looks like it's pretty low chance that Cook plays. So enter Madison season.
Yes, sir. All right. Well, let's start with the quarterbacks. So Huntley's not going to be a value play this week. His salary is $6,000.
$6K.
Yeah.
I was wondering. I didn't see it earlier. I was on the wrong. I was looking at DFS Army though, so my bad. They didn't even have him on there earlier.
Yeah. So, as I've said before, I'm going to go to the chalkboard. And that's really where I'm going to piece together my cash lineup. So I go over to DFS Army chalkboard. That said, right now there's too much news. There's too much COVID news. We don't know, like, Hill and Kelsey could still play, one or the other. They haven't been ruled out. Actually, I think Hill's out for sure because I read he's unvaccinated, so it's at least 10 days. But Kelsey could play. So a lot of these guys could still play, so we don't know. That said, on Sunday, this is my routine. It's like going to church. I go to dfsarmy.com because I'm a VIP subscriber, and I just go to the chalkboard and I piece together my lineup based on the chalk. It's that simple for my cash games. You play the chalk, it's a safety net, and that's where you find out where the sharp players are going. So you're not agonizing over it. It's very easy. Give yourself the gift of a VIP subscription at dfsarmy.com. Use code FANTASYFLING for 10% off. I've cashed 12 out of 15 weeks this year over at DraftKings in cash games just by doing this. You can too. It's my Sunday ritual. This is my church. This is what you should be doing instead of going to church. I promise you, during football season. You can go to church after football season's over. But during football season, this is what you should be doing on Sundays. But yeah, right now, basically, just kind of looking at, like, because it's still early, just the best place based on fantasy points per dollar, projections, and, overall ownership. So this is definitely going to fluctuate, but Herbert is a good play at 7,200. He's a great play going against Houston. You do worry that the game script will get just too easy and they can just run on them. So there's a little bit of risk there. I would probably be more inclined to play Stafford against the Vikings. I expect that game to be a little bit more competitive. He's 6,700. And then right now I am And all those guys are projected over 3x. So Herbert, Stafford, and then this third guy, Jalen Hurts. So 3.51x. He is the top fantasy points per dollar play as of right now. He's 6,400 going against the Giants. So, and then, of course, Huntley's a consideration at 6,000 too. But we'll kind of see by Sunday where to go at quarterback.
Yeah, I had I like that. I have very similar guys written down. I mean, obviously when you're doing kind of chalk, that's what first 3 guys I wrote down were Herbert, Stafford, and Huntley. Those were the first 3 I wrote down. Of course, if L. Jackson's out.
Yeah.
I like those 3 a lot. Someone I guess he's kind of risky, but at 5,400, Matt Ryan against the Lions may be in play. I know that makes you want to.
I like him in tournaments.
Saying that.
I like him in
tournaments. Might be a better tournament play, but he's going to be. He's fairly high on higher than normal because he's playing the Lions. I mean, the Lions had a good game against Arizona, but that's he's got such a low price, so it makes it tempting. But I definitely like I said, Herbert, Stafford, and Huntley, the 3 guys I'm probably going with. Even with Huntley being only 6K, I mean, he runs so much that unless he gets hurt or something, it should be pretty easy for him to at least 2.5x that.
I agree.
I was looking at Brady, but I'm kind of scared, man. He might be a tournament play because people are off of him because it's like he's got Evans is out, Godwin is out.
Yeah.
But you can't ever camp Brady out. I mean, you can't.
Well, he's getting Brown back this week, and he still has Gronk. So if they
Tyler Johnson's actually pretty good. The guy stepping in for Evans or for Godwin as well.
Yeah. He's I wouldn't play him in cash, but in tournaments for sure. Have exposure to him. Yeah.
Absolutely, man.
Well, moving along to running backs. So there are a lot of options here. With Delvin Cook out, Alexander Madison is looking like a smash for me right now. Now, over DFS Army hasn't updated this yet, so his ownership isn't even in the realm of what it's going to be. It's less than 1% right now, but I'm sure by tomorrow this will be updated. James Robinson against the Jets. He kind of burned us last week, but you got to go back to him. It's a great matchup versus the Jets. So, and he is looking about 20% owned right now. So just looking at fantasy points per dollar, Ronald Jones is probably the top play on the slate. So there's really a couple that are kind of locks for me as of right now, based on price. And if it's definitely shaping up, I think, to be a 3 running back week for sure in cash, which often, that's what I do anyway in cash, but more so this week just based on the value. So, you could pay up for a Herbert. You could pay up for an Allen, those guys this week because you got Ronald Jones at 5,100, and then you got Justin Jackson at 4,200 with no Eckler. So, whether you do Ronald, James Robinson, and Alexander Madison or Ronald, Alexander Madison, Justin Jackson, whoever it may be, I feel like these are going to be the top 4 guys. And really, in tournaments, you kind of want to get some exposure to all of them. So
I'm with you there, man. Some of those guys, if Cook is out, Madison is probably going to be even more chalky than Robinson, I think. Well, actually, you know what? He's 6,800.
Yeah, he's
pricey. They did price him a little bit up.
Yeah.
Preparing. He'll still be super high, though. So, Robinson and Madison. I also like David Montgomery this week as well. The downfall is Nick Foles is starting in. Justin Fields is out. So, fire up your Seahawks defense, by the way. But, David Montgomery, because I feel, Foles isn't a great quarterback. And if they are stuck behind in passing downs, he'll get the running and the passing work. But Montgomery for being 5,700, I like it a lot as well.
Yeah.
Because best he gets just 20 touches a game. Almost every time he plays. And then Justin Jackson is listed, 4,200. That's so cheap. If Eckler's out, he should get the bulk of the workload. I don't know, man. I'm going to fade Ronald Jones, I think. I don't – if he fumbles that ball one time or makes a mistake, I think he's going to get benched. That happens all the time with him. I don't know what Arians has against him.
I know.
But
it's not a bad fade.
So, but, he is cheap, though. But those are the guys I'm looking at.
Yeah.
Robinson, Madison, Montgomery, Justin Jackson, those types of guys. I even think Miles Sanders might be a pretty good play as well.
Yeah, so what was I going to say here? So with Alexander Madison, one reason I like him this week, even though he's 6,800, is because Justin Jefferson's probably going to get the Jalen Ramsey treatment. So that kind of eliminates like a lot of the target share and just overall plays in the offense. To whereas, Thielen is definitely a guy that I like in tournaments. If he plays this week, I think because he always gets touchdowns anyway. And if Jalen Ramsey is going to be on Justin Jefferson, give me some Thielen. But also, I feel like you're going to get a healthy dose of Alexander Madison, so could be a good play.
Yeah. He'll be in use no matter what. And he takes the Cook role, pretty much takes 85% of the snaps. So
yeah,
definitely.
So wide receiver, there are so many different ways you can go in tournaments. I mean, if you think about, for example, Hill and Kelsey potentially being out, you're talking about being able to stack Mahomes with cheap guys. So you can get a lot. You can go a lot of different ways with it. With all the COVID news that we have shaking up, but regardless, you have to have Cooper Kupp in your lineup, especially with there being value at running back. You have to have Cooper Kupp in your lineup. Like his target share on the season is, I think, like 33%. It was like 44% last week. It's just like absurd for one player to have that type of target share in their offense. And then really Antonio Brown is massively underpriced. So I don't really care who else you plug in, but you have to have Antonio Brown. You have to have Cooper Kupp. These are the top fantasy points per dollar plays. And projection-wise, they're definitely up there. So Tyreek Hill is going to be gone. I really don't trust Justin Jefferson projection. But yeah, other than that, so Kupp is obviously the top guy. And then you got Deontay, Keenan Allen, Diggs. Renfro is a good play, of course. Like him a lot. But, Antonio Brown, from fantasy points per dollar perspective, got to have him in there. And then there's a lot of different ways we're going to go in tournaments, and we'll get into that, of course, on making a milli. But,
yeah, man, I was really looking.
Guys.
I like him, man. I'm there with you as well. I think those are good calls. Kupp is, just like you said, how often he's targeted. It's hard not to pick him, even though he's 9,100. Kupp. Russell. I also have Russell Gage listed. He's 5,900, and he's getting a lot of looks lately. For the last 3 games, he's with a 3x at least each time. Also, Antonio Brown, as you mentioned, I have him on the list as well with Godwin and Evans out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see how he doesn't go off as long as he's healthy, which he's been out for 8-9 weeks. Should be back to full health. The other guy that I kind of like this week is DJ Moore. The guy is super talented. It's
a good matchup.
He is a good matchup too.
Yeah.
So, I'm gonna pretend that Tampa can put up points on the board. I'm sure Brady can figure out a way. He always does. So I do like DJ Moore as well.
No doubt. And it's kind of funny with Kupp. Like, there's a couple players, like, normally you don't want to chase. You're not trying to, chase performances. But at the end of the day, you have to realize that some players are just having an MVP-esque season, whether or not they end up the MVP or not. Specifically, if they don't play the quarterback, it's very hard to do. Kupp's that guy, and so is Jonathan Taylor. It's just like you just have to play him when you can. Like I told you the other night, I faded Kupp in the showdown, just based on ownership projections. I went with DeAndre Hopkins, and in the first half, all the balls were going to Beckham, and I was top 5 in a tournament. Right out, I was like 3 points out of first place, and then I ended up not cashing in that tournament at all because the second half happened and Kupp just went crazy. So it's just like fade him if you want, but you're probably going to get burned.
Yeah, he's too good. I mean, it's like years ago or 2 years ago because it's been hurt the last couple of years. But McCaffrey, McCaffrey was $10K. People would still pay that salary every week.
Right.
I think he was 10,000. Was he 10,000 at one point?
He was like 10.5 at one point.
Yeah, it's crazy numbers, but he always hit it. He'd score like 28 points a game or whatever. It was nuts.
He was just unstoppable, just getting too many yards, too many receptions, too many touchdowns. Yeah, he would always hit it.
And another guy I listed, I think I'm going to put him actually more in my tournament play than cash, but Justin Jefferson, because he might get the Ramsey treatment. People that might push him off of people, but he's so damn talented and so good. I think I'm just going to play him anyway in the tournaments.
Yeah. Also, mentioned Emmanuel Sanders beforehand, but I didn't get him as a play. I do think you could play him in cash this week. I think he's pretty safe. He's 4,000, and if we know anything about Belichick, because they're going against the Patriots, he's going to try to take away your best option. What is their best option? Stephon Diggs.
Yeah.
So there's no Beasley, there's no Gabriel Davis. Emmanuel Sanders is 4,000. Like, he should easily, I think, hit 3x this week. So we'll see what ownership projections end up being by Sunday, but I think they're going to kind of gravitate towards him, and he might be a safe play just based on the chalk. But let's round this out, and we'll go to tight ends.
Yeah.
Obviously, we lose Kelsey this week after a massive Thursday night game last week. No Kelsey, but my top guy, I really got two of them. Like Mark Andrews, if you can afford to pay up for him, he's 7,000. Huntley is love to target him. I believe he had like a 32% target share last week. So if you're paying up, that's where I'm going. Also, I think Gronk has a pretty safe floor this week, even at 6,200 as well. With no Godwin, no Evans, it's going to be Antonio Brown and Gronk through the air. So I like him. I do like Pitts in tournaments for sure. For fantasy points per dollar perspective, Cole Kmet's popping on the optimizer, the domination station over at DFS Army. And then I am 2.87 is what we're seeing right now from fantasy points per dollar perspective. And then another guy I like in tournaments, if you're stacking, Uzama. I don't know. I still don't know how to pronounce his name.
Uzama.
It's week 16. I still can't pronounce his name.
It's all good. 60% of the time, it happens every time, man.
Yes, sir. And then Goddard, obviously, always is a consideration. So Dallas Goedert going against the Giants. He's been top 5 tight end this year, so he's 5,100. He's gonna be cheaper than the other top options. The Gronks, the Andrews.
Yeah, man. I like that. I like those calls a lot. I like the. I have Uzama listed as well. He could be cash or he could be a tournament because the guy can. We've seen him put up multiple weeks of like 20 plus points, but we've also seen weeks of him putting up like 4 points. So, yeah, definitely. I'm with you there on Gronk. I have Gronk and Andrews listed. They're a little more pricey guys. If you want to go someone who's not quite as expensive but has might be in a good place, is Dawson Knox. He's not listed on DFS Army as having like a great value per dollar, but sometimes you got to go with your gut. And with Beasley and Gabriel Davis being out, I feel like that's a good place for Knox too. Yeah. 5,300. He's a little more expensive, but the cheaper guys I like are Kmet and Uzama as well, with respectively 3,300 and 3,000. So, I like Knox as well. He's, again, he's not listed highly on that, but it's, might not be taken into account that those two guys are out also. So,
I was actually going to mention him, and let's see. I'm not sure why it slipped me. Right now, he's only 3%.
Yeah, low.
Projected. So, I don't expect it to end there. But I mean, dude, even if he's 10% or like under that, like there's a legit chance where he has a ceiling type game with all the pass catchers they have missing. So yeah, I really like Dawson Knox.
I think he could probably be used in cash and or tournaments. I think he's got a pretty safe floor as well, just with the target share that he's been getting lately. Yeah,
he can end up being one. And then we can't forget Pat Freiermuth. He's always one of Ben's top options, and that is one of the more high projected games on the slate from a scoring perspective. So
I think he's out. He's out.
I did not see that.
Fryermuth is out. Yeah, it's all good. He's listed out from the concussion against the Chiefs.
He's already been ruled out?
Yep. At least at the DraftKings site. It says have ruled out Fryermuth concussion for Sunday's
4
game
hours
against
ago
the Chiefs.
today. Yeah.
Yep.
I
So, yeah, he would have got a good play for sure. He does
like
he
5
deserves-
hours ago.
Yeah, it's all good, man. Time flies. It's Christmas Eve. Stuff's going on.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, man.
Rapid fire.
Yeah, I'll round out the defenses. This week, especially in cash, there's a lot of cheap options that could pay off pretty well. The game, the Jacksonville and the Jets. Flip a coin, pick which side. Maybe one of the two sides. They're both 2,700. Atlanta against Detroit is 2,600, and Seattle's a little more pricey, but 3,000. They ruled out Justin Fields. Andy Dalton is also out, so Nick Foles is starting for the Bears.
I did see that. Yeah.
So I like those defenses as well. Most of them are pretty cheap.
I'll pull this up real quick here before we move on.
Yeah, it's kind of like last week, Jacksonville and Houston. You flip a coin, right? Same thing, I think, with the Jacksonville and the Jets. They're the same price. Both pretty bad offenses. I still have a feeling though that Jacksonville did go off last week after losing, Urban Meyer, but they lost him like the middle of the week, so it's kind of hard to completely change your game plan for the new coach.
Yeah.
Now they've had a whole week plus, so Jacksonville may come out swinging this week. Now that they have,
It's tough to say because
it's hard to for sure.
Apparently Schottenheimer is still calling the plays. So even though the loss of their coach, the play call remained the same. So it's I don't know. But who do you like, Zach Ertz or Dawson Knox?
Oh man,
It's a close one, I think.
Yeah, that's a. Think about that for a second. It's a good dilemma to have. Good for you for having both guys. Like, I think I like, even though they're going against such a tough defense. I think I like Knox this week over Ertz.
Yeah.
I know the Patriots have a great defense against. They're number one against tight ends, I think, but he does look for him in the red zone, and I do like Knox this week. A little bit over Ertz, but it's close for me, to be honest with you.
Let's see. Let me pull up both these guys. So, one thing I like to do when it's really close is I'll go to the player props. So, using the Sharp app, we got Dawson Knox right about 38.5 receiving yards. And then we have Zach Ertz at like 48. Yeah, 48, 50. It's a tough call. I like Zach Ertz a little better this week, but I think Dawson Knox probably has a higher ceiling. That would be where I'd go this week. So if you not projected to win your matchup and you really need some high ceiling guys, I would go with Dawson Knox. But if you're just looking for a safe floor, I like Zach Ertz better this week.
Sounds good.
Well, let's. You already went through your defenses, so a couple defenses for me before we wrap this thing up. I like the Chargers versus Houston at 3,400. I think it's kind of like last week, right? Like Houston versus Jacksonville. Like, play both sides. I think you can play both sides. So I'm looking at Jacksonville versus the Jets, 2,700 is Jacksonville. The other side of that, you play the Jets, that's 2,700. So obviously in cash, you're going to want to play the chalkier side. But in tournaments, play them both because you never know how it's going to go. One that I did see, the Raiders going against Drew Lock. Drew Lock is a fumble/interception machine. He might throw 3 touchdowns. He might throw 4 touchdowns. But he's probably going to throw the ball to the other team twice and fumble the ball. So I think the Raiders are in play, and this pains me to say as a Broncos fan, but yeah, they're 2,900.
Josh came over my house to watch the game, the Broncos game. We watched it, and I was like, they're getting ready right before Locke had that ball just literally ripped out of his hands. I was like, all right, this is the point where Locke usually does something. It's like it's an interception where he's gonna fumble. Literally the next play. It's like, dang man, he definitely finds a way to stay up.
Well, the ball that he threw to Tim Patrick too was a 50-50 ball. It was either gonna be a touchdown or an interception.
Yeah,
like it wasn't like some great throw. That's what Locke is. He's a gunslinger, and he doesn't have the best ball placement, doesn't have the best accuracy, but he plays with a lot of confidence. So you will get a 3-touchdown game from him here and there, which is why I said today, tweeted it out, play him. And throw a couple darts in GPPs. He was in the Millie Maker winner last year. But other than that, like he's a GPP-only quarterback, and because of that, that is why high variance play, you want to play defense against him, like the Raiders. You never know, especially at 2900.
I think that brings in GPPs, which we'll probably talk about more in the next one, but that also brings Tim Patrick and Cortland Sutton into the talks as well, because he is willing to go get those guys a chance. And
absolutely.
They're both cheap. Yep. Sutton is 4,200. Just saying.
Yep. Big body, wide out. We'll talk about that in the next podcast. We're going to wrap this one up. Thank you for joining us for the Christmas Eve edition of the Fantasy Fling podcast. We'll see y'all next week. Of course, we'll be through this thing till the end of the season. Appreciate you joining us, and then we're about to close this one out, and then we're going to hop on Making a Millie, give you that Millie Maker preview.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us. Merry Christmas, everybody. Happy New Year's.
Absolutely.